Welcome to Season 2 of the Cultural Cultivators podcast by Belay Creative and Cultivate Labs, where we delve into the various aspects of Fil-Am culture and speak with entrepreneurs, leaders, artists, and creators who are shaping and pushing the boundaries of their respective fields. Join us as we cultivate a greater appreciation for the beauty and complexity of the Fil-Am experience. Follow us on all social media platforms at Belay Creative or on Instagram at cultural.cultivators. Both creative and cultivators are with a K. Jenn Ban is a queer Filipinx-American multidisciplinary visual artist, certified Reiki practitioner, youth teaching artist, community organizer, cultural practitioner, and artivist. Jenn's work includes murals made of natural and upcycled textiles, printmaking, woodcuts, film, facilitating workshops, and sacred skin adornments, also known as Reiki-infused tattoos. They intersect art and healing through movement, meditation, and intention, focusing on themes of authenticity, soul transcendence, and individual collective healing. Jenn was also a past Belay Creative Artist resident and a recipient of a Seed Network grant that helped her launch her new business. In this conversation, Jenn describes the importance of Reiki to her art practice and tattoo work.
At this point, Reiki is like a lifestyle for me, and I'm constantly thinking and feeling through energy in my daily life and my daily practice. And it only made sense that Reiki is a part of everything around me, whether that's like my artwork, now it's like tattoos. The framework is coming into the space with intention and creating protection around the space and being able to facilitate navigating and moving energy with someone, and then reminding them that they can do that for themselves too. So it's like I found a way to integrate that through the experience of getting tattooed. I always want to make sure that my hands are intentionally being placed and that this person always feels comfortable in what we're doing together, because it's a very sacred thing. I'm breaking skin open, and that to me is like such an honor and also such a responsibility to hold, that to not move with intention, it just doesn't make sense to me. And that's, I feel like, how it is with even my artwork that I do, like any of the art that I do.
Also in this conversation, Jenn talks about carving your own path despite familial expectations, the role living in the Philippines as an adult played in changing her perspective of the world, and she shares her experiences of being a Belay Creative Artist resident. You can find Jenn on Instagram at jenn.ban, spelled JENN.BAN. Jenn, thank you for being on our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
All right, first question that I ask all of our guests thus far is, which ancestor or person that has passed on, or anything, anyone, any entity would you like to call into this space to ground us in this conversation?
Cool. I love this question because I always ask my clients that question when I go into like Reiki and into like our tattoo session. I'm always like, what ancestor do you want to call in? Or what part of yourself do you want to call in? So I always call in my higher self. That's like number one. And I think I'm just kind of open, like whatever ancestor, whatever spirit guide, whatever angel who is down to be here to support the energy of this space and this container, this conversation. Everyone else, go. Like, we don't need that extra stuff. But if you're here to support, to make it like loving and compassionate, stay and just continue to guide us and protect us throughout this container.
I know I say this on the show a lot, but I fucking love that answer. This is what I love about cultural cultivators. There's always like this full circle moment that happens. Mm-hmm. And I feel it right now, but I won't get into why yet. But also, like, I love that answer. Because that's exactly what I would do in a situation like
that's
this.
Why.
Alignment.
We get it. We get it.
Alignment. So, Jen, there's been a lot of, I want to say, evolution in your life. We talk about past lives and how we all feel like we've lived a past life. One that's like completely different from the life you're living now. Can you talk about that journey for you and how you came to this realization of, I want to be an artist that also does tattoos and does Reiki healings while I give tattoos? Like, that is so fucking dope. And you're the only Panay that I know that does that.
Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. Past lives. Yeah. There's so many in this lifetime that I've lived. It's crazy. Yeah. My parents, of course, they wanted me to be in the medical field. And I went to college, went and did biology, which I freaking hated. And I was not doing good in school. So I completely just dropped bio, switched over to psychology, went behind my dad's back and took up a minor in art and was like, I don't know, tuition's just really high now. He was pissed, but I was really privileged that he always took it a point to be able to pay for my college. So he was just like, we'll make it happen, because he wanted me to have a degree. And I kind of lied to him and did extra things. But it helped me get through school. So, if I didn't have art, that's what I realized in college. If I didn't have art during that time, I would have not done well at all. And it was like that for the first year and a half of being in college without any art focus. So I went through college, a bachelor's of science in psychology with a minor of drawing, painting, screen printing. I used it very well. It still plays out in my life. And I think it's interesting because I used to not care about college and be like, college is a scam, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm like, you know what? College taught me how to critically think. That alone, it set me up for a lot. And it brought me really far too. And everything else, it's you kind of pick and choose what you learn and you just take it. After college, I was a behavior therapist. Well, actually, I did a whole bunch of retail jobs, and then I was a behavior therapist for kids with autism. And that was really great and really fulfilling. And my family really wanted me to be a doctor. So they wanted me to take my psychology degree, go to the Philippines, get my doctorate, and live a comfortable, healthy life. Which is cool. I mean, my cousin did it, and my cousin was also going to school at the same time. So it was oh, your cousin's going, so you guys could be in the same school. You guys got it. You can do it together. So I took the NMAT. I was in the Philippines. I did all that, and I didn't make a good enough score for the school I wanted to go to. I took it as a sign, as damn, it's not for me. But then, of course, in the Philippines, my family's we know the principal. We have you on the roster. You're good. And I was like, oh, it's like that. Yeah. They were just all you have to do is pack your bags and just go to the Philippines. That's it. Everything else is taken care of. And I was like, what the fuck? Is this for me? Am I just doing this for my family? And that was that moment that I was just why are relatives that don't usually talk to me talking to me? Because they want me to go to school and do this thing. And who am I doing this for? My parents or me? And I love my parents, but it's also do I want to do this? And the smallest doubt, even having my score not be good enough for the school, I was it's a sign, I'm good. I'm going to do something else. Meanwhile, everyone's pushing me. And I was I don't know about this. And I think I'm good. And I decided not to go. Even my cousin was dude, are you sure? It would be cool because we'll go together and we'll go through this journey. It'll be good. And I was just bro, I'm so sorry. That's not for me. Yeah, my family was pissed. They were pissed. They were upset. My family from all over was calling me hey, are you sure you don't want to do this? Your family really wants you to do this. Yeah, I was getting voicemails on my phone from different relatives. It was crazy. And I was just avoiding my phone, not answering anything. It was just unsolicited calls at this point from my family. And I pretty much at that point was fuck everything. Just totally told myself I need to unlearn all these things in order for me to understand what it is that I even want in this life.
What is the one thing you had to unlearn?
I guess the one thing that I had to unlearn, and I still sometimes I think come across it, is like there isn't a right or wrong way to live, especially growing up Catholic. I was like a leader in my youth group from like high school to like college.
Oh, shit.
And a little bit after that. Yeah. So kind of like she was growing.
Catholic school?
No, it was like a whole nother sector. It was like outside of school, outside of like any church.
What city?
In Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Jacksonville?
Jacksonville,
so that's just
Florida,
like
yeah.
hella religious.
It's like heavily Baptist. It's very conservative for sure. Like majority of my educational experience has been in Florida. I've had to unlearn all of that too. That's why I feel like I'm constantly growing, because I'm like having to unlearn so many things from religion, even being raised in the military. My dad was in the Air Force, crazy. And then like also unlearning a lot of things about living in Florida, like a very conservative space. That's already a lot. And I was like really different. Like I was like, again, just like, oh, would Jesus do that? Or just like being really judgy. And there's so many aspects of myself that had to get like cracked open. I always knew she was there, but there was a lot of like kind of moments of like, no, but you have to be like this, you know? And especially as a woman of color, like
yes.
That also, you know, all the fucking layers.
Living in the Philippines as an adult, how did that experience shape your identity as a Filipino-American?
So yeah, living in the Philippines as an adult has super shaped who and where I am now. It changed my life, like from the things that I was experiencing, from the people, the places, like getting in so much trouble. But it's chaotic. I was living in Manila and it's really chaotic. I was living by myself as an adult and navigating spaces and still wanting to like just have fun. So I was like drunk all the time, which is crazy because I don't even drink anymore. Occasionally. And I was really grateful to be surrounded by the friends that I made locally and internationally who are living in the Philippines, but specifically my local Filipino friends, because they humbled me. How so? Okay, so I was hanging out a lot with like Filipino artists, street artists. Some were not street artists, but also were kind of like in the same circle. And a lot of the work and the conversations that we were having were really political. And I was like, oh, I'm not into politics like that. Like, I don't know. This is like kind of in over my head, like whatever. And they were just like, no, Jen, like as an artist, this is part of your responsibility. And take that as you want, but everything is political inherently, especially being Filipino. And I know they could tell that I didn't fully understand that. So they were just like, just watch and like observe things and then we'll talk about it. And I was like, okay, cool. And so as I observed, as I got excited, and we actually created an initiative called Commune. And it was Manila street-based artists, and we were going and doing cultural exchanges out in different tribes. And when we would go out to spaces, like I was excited. I'd be like, oh my God, it's so cool. Like we can do this here and that here. I had all these cool ideas. And my friends were just like, girl, sit down, observe. What makes you think that what you want in this space is actually needed here? Like you haven't even talked to them yet. There isn't a relationship yet. Like just exist and learn. Like we're going to learn so much more from them than they will from us. And I was like, kind of just still didn't get it in that moment. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just sit back. But like, I don't really know what you're talking about. So whatever, we'd have our experiences. And then I clearly remember one of our friends being like, dude, your mind is so Western. What are you doing? And I was like, what? And they're like, you're putting your Western mentality on Indigenous people. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, stop. And I was like, oh. And then they explained it to me. And then we just had a conversation about it. And I was like, holy shit. And that alone, I was like, damn, I have so much to learn and unlearn. And I was really grateful to like be around those friends because they just took me under their wing. Like I'm Filipino. I went to the Philippines growing up. So like I understand Filipino jokes, like local Filipino jokes. And, you know, they look at me and be like, you're American, but why are you laughing at our joke? Like, how do you understand? And I'm like, dude, I get it. Like I'm Filipino. And I feel like that understanding of all of us being like, whoa, like this foundation of being Filipino really brings together a lot more. And I think in those moments, we all saw that we could learn from each other. So it was like, okay, cool. When we were just kind of like accepting of it and we just like let it unravel.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It was hard, but it was really cool.
How long were you in the Philippines?
I was there from 2018 to 2020, and then the pandemic hit. Yeah. So my plan at the time was to only go for 2 years and to reclaim who I was as a Filipino and then come back and do my thing. But I like fell in love out there and I was like just building a life out there. I had like work lined up for me. I had a whole plan to move out of Manila and move to LU where I found like a really amazing community. I just was like, oh, I'm just going to go on vacation and go to America for a little bit. For like 3 months and then come back to the Philippines and reset. And when I came out here, that's when the pandemic hit. The month that I was supposed to leave to go back to the Philippines was March of 2020, which is when the lockdown happened. My family was like, no, you can't go. And I was like, what do you mean I can't go? All my shit is there. And I have a lot of like things I'm working on. What do you mean? And they're like, it's too dangerous. Like, we don't want that for you right now. And that was probably the first time I was like, okay, I also don't know what's happening and I don't want to stress them out more. And I don't know if I go, well, I see them again, you know? So I was like, I'm privileged enough to be able to stay. And I was like, okay, well, let me just give it a chance. So I ended up staying. And yeah, I hadn't been back until like December of 2023, which was super recently. That was like 4 years later.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was a lot. But yeah, I'm here now for a reason. So I trust it.
And I think a lot of that reason is congratulations on your new, what do you want to call it?
It's a Filipino-inspired like artist space. Really.
Artist space.
Yeah.
There. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An artist space, a home.
And I'm hell excited.
Yeah, me too. It's really crazy. It's called Bituin, means star in Tagalog.
I love that.
I'm in this business with my business partners, Jerome and Saint. And we just want to create a home for creatives to authentically express themselves. And that's it. And with that, and with us being in the space, that also includes like body art practices, healing practices, like community events. When us three came together to open up the shop, we were like, okay, what name? And then Jerome was like, we actually been thinking about this name Bituin for a while for other things, but like it feels fitting. And I was like, perfect. Because, I mean, if anyone knows myself, Jerome and Saint, like, we're all very, very bright people. And our energy is bright. Us as a character is bright. Like, it just makes so much sense. And then it's like, we also see other people in that way too. And so it's kind of cool because, like, we have different group chats. And it's like, we have, like, Bituin, like, the main one. We have Bituin Galaxy, which has like our landlords on there because we didn't want to call them landlords and they didn't want to be called landlords either. They're really cool actually. And we were like, you guys are like our guardians.
Aww.
And we're like, okay, Bituin Galaxy. So like that
so
is like one. And then we have one with our team and it's Bituin Orbit. I don't know. We're all just finding ways to reimagine business terms because it is a business at the end of the day, but how do we invite fun into it? But also what feels good to us? Like, you're not just my coworker. You're not just like an intern. You're part of this team that is like way bigger than all of us. And it's like, just like the stars are, you know.
That resonates on so many levels.
Yeah.
The way y'all just like come together and build community.
Yeah.
Kapwa.
Yeah, exactly. Kapwa. It's inherently in all of us, you know. So it's like, how do we tap into that in like this modern sense? And also be sustainable through all of that. Yeah, we're learning.
You talk about stars and connections and a healing space for artists, which I love. And I know that healing is a big intention in a lot of the work that you do, whether that's like art or even tattooing. Can you share that intersection between art and healing in your work and why those two things?
I feel like I ask myself all the time, but art and healing come hand in hand for me in life in general, because without art, I just couldn't get through a lot of things. Like I said earlier, I couldn't get through biology in college without having art. Art and healing is the same thing for me. But I feel like I have to like separate it because that's how people can understand and perceive that. No matter what I do, I'm always an artist. And no matter what I do, I'm always a healer. And yeah, I don't know. I guess it's a bit hard to answer that when I'm like so embodied in that practice and just in that thing that it's just like, it's what I breathe at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, because that energy exudes from you.
Thank you.
Like, I think the first time we met and you came into the space to talk about your last project, Dito Lang, when you walked in, I was like, wow, she's hella grounded.
Oh, thanks.
And she knows what she wants.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, I hella respected that.
Thank you. I don't know if I was always like that, actually. I feel like I've been pretty grounded my whole life in terms of like finding ways to be chill because I grew up in a seemingly chaotic environment, which I feel like a lot of people could resonate with. And I feel like my coping mechanism was to be chill. But even as I was younger, it was like there's something within me that is very otherworldly that I can't always articulate. But yeah, I kind of just like stuck with that. Like, how can I just be present and have fulfillment in this life, whatever that means for me? Like, otherwise, like, I don't want to be fake, you know, like that whole people pleasing and performative stuff. Like, there is an aspect of that still that I'm still trying to unlearn and work through. And at the same time, I recognize how deeply ingrained that is in my family lineage, whether that's like just as being Filipino people, just as like my family being immigrants, just as survival, you know, and lies and deceitment that had to happen for the survival of my family to get to this point. Like, I recognize that. And I recognize that, like, I don't know, I think maybe like in college or something. And I was just like, man, like, I get it, but like, why do we have to continue carrying that? And like, why do I have to continue to perceive and to like manipulate and just all these things that are like interesting that like, it's for survival. So I get it. But it's also like, we live in this generation and I live in a very privileged life now. Even though I have my own struggles, like I can now choose the way that I walk in this world. And like, I just feel like in this life, there's so many things happening that like, I can't keep up with all of these lies. And that's how people get caught. And it's like, this life is already so hard. So like, why not just live a very honest, authentic life and be around people who reciprocate that? It's just so much work to be fake. And I feel like when you can be honest and like continue working on being honest, like, you don't have to like show up in a performative way anymore. Like, you can just like show up. If you're tired and whatever, then you're tired and whatever. Like, if you're having a bad day, then it's like, dude, I'm having a bad day. Like, this is real, you know? And yeah, even with like interviewing and stuff, like everyone's always like, are you nervous? And I'm like, no, I'm just going to say what I want to say. Cause like, even if it's like something that I might not be happy with later, it's like, that was a point in my life. I'm already evolved from that. And that was my truth in that moment. And like, to capture that is beautiful, but we don't have to hold on to that to define us. You know, we're always evolving and changing. So it's like, just be honest.
I kind of want to ask, why Reiki? And how did you get to that point?
It's interesting how I got into Reiki because I was living in LA at this time. I was in the middle of like breaking up with someone. It was a really difficult breakup. It lasted for years. And I was living on my own with my roommate, my good friend. I didn't want to turn to Jesus. I was just like, there must be another way to heal through something and not just like pray about it and do it in the ways that I was taught. And it was wild because the roommate that I had at the time, we met in our youth group. So like we both were unlearning and learning a lot of things together. So I was kind of just like, okay, I'm in LA, you know, it's a little bit out of the box here. Let's go figure out something that like feels aligned. And I went on Groupon and I saw that someone was doing like buy one, get one half off on massages and Reiki sessions. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm super down. Because I was living in Florida and Florida at the time didn't have any of that. It seemed kind of scary to do it there. But in LA, I was like, so many people do such out of the box things. So whatever, let's get this coupon, this Groupon. And I went and massage was great. The Reiki was interesting. I had a really interesting experience with that person that made me really question a lot of in my life and also question my boundaries too. But I remember when they did Reiki on me, it was actually really vulnerable and I was really, really nervous and felt really scared, honestly, that he had to be like, hey, like, it's all good. Like, relax. It's just us, which scared me even more as a woman because I was like, what you mean it's just us? Yeah.
You said the wrong words.
Yeah, right. And I was like, I also like was living in LA and working in a cannabis shop. So I was like, I went there, smoked some before I got there. And so I was like extra vulnerable. But something he said to me, like at the end of the session was really interesting. And he was like, you know, there's something about like your energy. It's really powerful and you'd be a really great Reiki teacher one day. And I was like, I don't know what that means. What is he trying to do? Like, what? I was just like so skeptical about it all. That was just like a really impactful session for me. And then I cut ties with that person because it was like weird energy. And then while I was working at the cannabis shop, a woman came through and was like, oh, I want to find some like flower that I can use with clients because I do cannabis yoga. Oh, and shit. I was like, this is so LA. Like, hell yeah.
That is so LA.
Like living my dream, working in a cannabis shop and being like, oh, we do cannabis yoga. And I'm like, whoa, who's this woman? I was like, cannabis yoga? Like, what is this? This is my vibe. Like, what do you do? And she gave me her card and it said Reiki Master on there. And I was like, whoa, what is that? So I asked a bunch of questions. We ended up scheduling a time to meet outside of the shop because she was really interested in knowledge of cannabis and just other things that we were just talking about. So we met up outside and we did a trade. I was like, I want to learn Reiki. I feel really drawn to it, but I don't have the funds right now, but I'm willing to trade something with you. And she saw that I was doing art. And then she was like, I've been looking for an artist like you to like rebrand our shop and to paint a mural. And I was like, trade? And she was like, I'm so down. So we traded. So she taught me Reiki 1 and 2. I painted a mural. I painted like her front sign and like rebranded her yoga studio, which was really cool. And then in exchange, she taught me Reiki 1 and 2. So there's like 3 levels. It's Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and then the master level. So yeah, I learned from her and it just stuck with me. It's kind of interesting because there's a theory that Jesus, like when he was undocumented during this time in his life, that he went up and learned from yogis and learned how to do Reiki, learned how to walk on water. And Reiki it's a framework that's originated from Japan, but it's healing with your hands. And that's what Jesus did when he came back.
But the Philippines has something similar, but they don't call it Reiki.
Yeah, there's Hila. There's a couple other things too. Yeah. When I think about it, my Lola would do that, right?
My Lola would too. I feel like everyone's Lola knew fucking Reiki, Hila.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like, it's always been. Even when you like stub your toe and you put your hand over your toe, just be like, like you just put your hand over it. Like that is Reiki. You're soothing yourself. You know,
chi.
It's chi. Exactly. It's energy. It's literally Reiki is translated to life force energy.
What's one way people can change their energy from negative to positive?
There's so many ways to answer this, but before even looking at something as negative and positive energy, it's like, how do we see these energies as energies that exist? And if we think about like energy is not created nor destroyed, energy just is, right? It transfers, it changes, it shifts. So if we look at energy as like, say, a bubble, and we were to say that this part of the energy had negative energy, this part had positive energy, that we're already assuming that it's negative and positive. What if we just saw it as what it is, right? And then we saw it, maybe this part of the energy has a consequence of this or creates this or can transform into this. So I guess to answer the question of like, how does one like change or shift from like an energy to an energy? It's, at least for me, it's intention. Yeah. It really comes down to that. Because like you can change the energy of a room just by walking into it. So true. You know, and you could bring the energy down, you could bring it up, or it could be neutral. But you have that choice. And as humans, like we have that intention, that choice, like in our mind, in our heart, and whatever we experience. And so being able to take ownership of that, it then kind of shows you like how you can begin to work with energy. So I think that's what Reiki really is about. It's like a framework of how to work with energy.
It's already there.
Yeah, it's already there. It's always been in existence. It's just a framework of how to do that, like through intention. At this point, Reiki is like a lifestyle for me. And I'm constantly thinking and feeling through energy in my daily life and my daily practice. And it only made sense that Reiki is a part of everything around me, whether that's like my artwork. Now it's like tattoos. The framework is coming into the space with intention and creating protection around the space and being able to facilitate navigating and moving energy with someone and then reminding them that they can do that for themselves too. So it's like I found a way to integrate that through the experience of getting tattooed. I always want to make sure that my hands are intentionally being placed and that this person always feels comfortable in what we're doing together, because it's a very sacred thing. I'm breaking skin open, you know, and that to me is like such an honor and also such a responsibility to hold, that to not move with intention, it just doesn't make sense to me. And that's, I feel like, how it is with even my artwork that I do, like any of the art that I do.
Can you share insights on your own healing of intergenerational trauma or any practices, techniques that helped you?
Yeah. Every day I've pretty much have some type of habit that I've already integrated in my life where it's like specific to like my spiritual hygiene. And every single one of these things have helped me through so many things, so many aspects of life, including generational trauma, which is something that is like on my like probably top 3 things to heal through. And I guess before I say any of that, like I think something that I learned recently is that like when it comes to healing generational trauma, it's actually not even about so much the people that are doing the things. It's really more healing yourself and how you show up, because that in itself is enough to make a ripple effect. And I've seen that in this lifetime with my own family directly, like witnessing that, and also my cousins witnessing things like that happening. And it's cool. It's kind of like, whoa, like all I had to do was focus on me. As weird as that is, because I feel like to focus on me and my own healing, like it seems selfish, right? Because we're taught like that's a selfish thing, right? But the more I focus on my healing, the stronger that ripple effect happens. And everyone around me, my parents including, they see that and they see how consistent I am with that it somehow activates them. And maybe it's activating as in like it triggers them, because it has in many ways. And now at this point, like they're kind of like, dang, you've been doing this stuff. I've been hearing you say these things. Like, you're right. And I'm like, okay, 10 years later.
At least they're there, though.
Yeah.
Some people never get there.
Right. But trust, like, I've fought with my family so many times. Like, I'm a Sagittarius. Like, I am fiery. And I was always, like, really rebellious, too. So it's like, I've had a lot of fights with my family. And I was just consistent with wanting to still stick around, too. So I was like, I have to figure out a way. Because, like, for me, it wasn't a choice of just cutting them off completely. At least I didn't want to. That wasn't where I wanted to be. So I was like, I'm going to try everything I can to like figure this out. I think at this point, though, one of the biggest practices I have is like being gentle, which is crazy because I literally just talked about how I was like fiery and like really rebellious and like would fight with my family. Like I have a really sassy mouth with the things I say. I bite back like hard. I feel like it's a practice to like be gentle and grounded in that, because it's so reactive and we're taught to be reactive as well. And it's like, that's not always the solution, you know? And I think that practice of gentleness has carried me so far, and even like kind of over the edge a little bit where I was like taken advantage of, you know? So it's kind of like finding that like medium of like, where does the gentleness lie in my life, and in what ways can I be gentle and unravel and still be stern and clear, like with where I'm trying to be and what I'm trying to do. So yeah, spiritual hygiene. That looks like literally like taking a shower and just like imagining myself just like cleansing out. Every morning and every night I do like a cutting of cords, and it's just part of my morning and night. There's so many ways that you can approach that and also define what cutting cords is. But for me, especially like with my Reiki understanding, it's like all of us are all connected, whether we're family or not. Like we as human beings, all of us as energy, we're all connected in some way or some form. So we can cut a cord between ourselves, a situation, ourselves, and a person. And that doesn't mean you're cutting yourself completely off, because there's no way to ever do that fully. But you can set your intention to cut off things that are unnecessary and that don't belong to you. And so in the mornings, even before I'm like fully awake, even before I even open my eyes and like stretch, I always find myself bringing my hands to my heart and my stomach, and I just start breathing and then set that intention, like allow me to be present in my body, allow any energies that I may have interacted with in my dreams or while I was asleep, may they go back to their source, and may my energy go back into my source. And just allowing deep breaths to come into me. And that in itself has been really huge for me, because like I'm not a morning person. I can stay in bed forever. That's such a low effort thing that I don't have to move for. And so that has been like integral in my morning routine, I guess. And throughout my day, I also practice that. So anytime I'm with clients, anytime I'm having like a really deep conversation with someone, or like it feels just very charged, at some point in the conversation, or even when I'm working with clients, I'll always say an intention that like, may this person's energy go back into their body and my energy to go back into mine, allowing our energies to be cut as we walk away from each other or walk away from the situation. And it allows me to just not think about that thing over and over again. You know, it lets me carry on my day. And it's also just like a good cleanse. So I do that. And then I guess at night, I also do that. So like at the end of the night when I'm in bed, before I fall asleep, I just say that intention as well. Like allow all energies and connections and that I had today, may they all go back to their source. Allow my energy to come back to me.
How did you come up with that?
Yeah. Well, through a Reiki practice, like that's something that my Reiki master had mentioned, was that like, make sure you're always ending that session with protecting yourself, protecting that person, and like letting them go their way. So I was like, what would happen if I did that in like all situations? And I just started playing with it. And then it was initially like really, really intense situations where I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this person. I need to cut cords with them. And it was like really helpful for the time. But then I just started doing it in general, and I was like, whoa, like I feel like I can hear myself better. I can feel myself better. Like I don't feel like I'm being pulled on all ways, and I have like the choice to be where I want to be, especially as someone who's moved so many different places, someone who like I have like a variety of friends and variety of things that I do. So it's like, how do I balance all of that if I'm going to be pulled all these different ways and then still be strong in my voice and like where I am in life? So that's been, I don't know, I was just trial and error, I think. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
I know there's a part of me that's like, I know all that and I should be doing all that, but that's just hard.
Yeah, it is. I mean, trust, like it definitely took me like years. I think I learned Reiki back in 2016.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so it's like, I mean, there's so many other things that I should be doing too, but I don't. We're human, you know? And that's like interesting thing too, because it's like all these spiritual things, yes. And also I'm human. And so it's like, I can do all the spiritual things I want to in the ether. I could live there. We're good. But like the reality is like I have this human vessel that I'm in, and like I need to experience this life and learn the lessons that I need to learn in this earthly body. I can't bypass that. I just have to go through it and like integrate it. So I'll try. That's what I
You're
try.
doing.
I'm doing it.
Not
yeah.
just trying. You're like doing it in so many ways.
Thank you.
In your being. And that's what I really, it's more than appreciate. I acknowledge, and also I want that. Like, I want to be chill.
I want everyone to be like
That
this.
seems amazing.
Yeah. I'm not always chill, but
But you strive
I'm pretty chill.
and you're like intentionally chill.
Yeah.
I feel like
yeah.
I intentionally want to be chill, and then some shit will irritate me, and then I'm not chill anymore.
Trust me, like when I get irritated, when I get mad, the Florida comes out of me. It's okay. You're allowed to not be chill sometimes. It's fine.
But I feel like I'm not chill 80% of the time, and I would like at least it to be 50-50.
Yeah. It's a practice.
Jenn, I really admire your capacity to remain grounded and committed to nurturing your journey as a healer and artist in San Francisco's Soma district. Speaking of artistic pursuits in Soma, could you share your experience as a resident artist at Balai Creative, and then moving on to open your very own business in the Soma and working with our sister program, the Seed Network? What was that chapter like for you?
A lot. I'm like, whoa. When I first moved here, this was like 2022, I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I got a grant to carry out Dito Lang, my immersive exhibit that we had. And I was like, okay, well, I can't do this alone. I need to find like my community, and I gotta just not play about it because this is serious. You know, I wanted to make this happen. So that's probably why I made a pitch deck. But yeah, I made that pitch deck because I was like, I don't know how these San Francisco people are. I don't know how like intense they may be about business and like whatever. So I was like, let me just like show my best. And I became friends with JT, and JT was a huge vision holder for me. JT is a poet and educator and activist like in San Francisco. And he was like, hey, there's this event at Kapwa Gardens. You should come through. I want to introduce you to all these people. And he was just like, I really see you being here and just making it all happen. Like whatever you are all about, this is the place to be for that. And I was like, I don't even know what you mean by that, but okay, whatever. And he was like, no, seriously, there's just something, I could just feel it. There's something here, and I could see you really thriving. And I was like, all right, dude, whatever that means, but like, I'm down. Thanks for seeing that. JT introduced me to you, and somehow you said something like, oh, we're actually looking for artists to fill Balai Creative. Yes. And I was like, that's all I needed to know. Thank you. And yeah, I hit you up. I brought the deck. Desi was like, a pitch deck? You're in. And I was like, yay. He
didn't even open it.
Yeah, I don't think he looked at it really, but
I looked at it.
Yeah,
I was
you
impressed.
did. Yeah,
I was like,
thank you.
She's good. We should get her.
I was like very clear with what I was trying to do, and I got help from community in San Francisco through Arts Collab. So they taught me how to like find clarity with my projects. So I brought that here. And it was just so funny when I met Desi, because I was like, oh my gosh, you just remind me of like a Filipino dad. And I'm like, this pitch deck is going to wow the Filipino dad. And it did.
I say like Tito Desi all the time.
Yeah.
Like Tito Ramon. Like,
no, yeah, for sure. And it's like
Tito energy.
Yeah.
Is strong.
It is very strong. And it's like very like, we need that, you know, like we need that like business focus, like very masculine energy, action type. Mm-hmm. Maybe critical, but in a way that like will bring you up to the system.
They know how to work it.
For real. And it's like, we need that. And it's like interesting to deny that we do need that, because then you're kind of denying yourself of abundance and like what's around. And I'm really grateful to meet someone like Desi, because he doesn't gatekeep knowledge like that. And I super appreciate that. Yeah. And I gravitate towards people who aren't gatekeepers, because I'm not either. Like anything I know and I learn, I want to only share that with everyone else around me when they're ready. Like I'm not going to waste my time and tell you all these things, but like if you want to ask, I'm down to tell you and share my experience. So just, you know, being part of Balai Creative, it was scary, honestly, for me, because I had never really been in a big city like this. Like, yeah, I was in LA, but LA and San Francisco are so different. And I was here to focus on my art as a full-time artist. That alone was really scary. So being in a space that is Filipino, that I didn't have to over-explain anything about myself, and in a place that was very familiar to me, that was enough for me to feel safe. And I think, again, kind of a common theme in my own life is like, my day ones are always like, you always find the Filipinos. And I'm like, dude, because that's where home is at.
Yeah.
Like, I know I'm going to be taken care of.
Hashtag Bully Creative.
Right. It's home. And it's like, you know, everyone obviously takes care of people in their own way, but there is this common like nurturing aspect that I have and that a lot of Filipino people have too. And so it's like, yes, let me be around that. You know, life is already stressful as it is. So yeah, being here was like, it was a bit overwhelming. I was like, oh, I'm around a lot of amazing artists. I do this thing where I don't look at people or places like before I enter it.
Like their online research.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes
healthy.
I should. Yeah, I think it's healthy too. Yeah, I think. But it's also like interesting because I'm like, then I just see everyone as a clean slate. And it's beautiful to approach things like that. And I think in general, I'm already like that. I often don't even know what my friends do for work because I don't know that part. Like I don't even ask them. And so being in here and it's like I'm around, you know, a lot of amazing artists. I don't know where they're at in life. I don't know how far they've gone in with their artistry and career. And here I am being baby and being like, I'm a full-time artist in a big city. Feeling like a small fish, you know, in a big pond. You know, it was exactly what I needed. It was a space for me to land and like be cared for, like having Seer as like the head resident artist. Like I just felt so nurtured by Seer and his presence and like his knowledge and wisdom, and also not gatekeepy. When I was working late out here, Seer was also working late. So then it was like we got time to bond with each other and like realize how similar we are in a lot of different ways. And we were each other's support system, like through our projects and like whatever we were going through in life. And I felt like that the more and more I met everyone when they chimed in, and like, it was just beautiful. I was like, whoa, this is like exactly where I wanted to be, where I needed to be in order to create this project that I was birthing. Yeah. And the project is a community project and an immersive one. So it was like, I needed community as well to support this project, for it to come to life, but also to see how community and people interacted with the pieces, because it wasn't just for me. It wasn't just for like this art audience. It was for my people, and it was just all humans to experience and feel connected to. So Dito Lang is an immersive art exhibit and it's multi-sensory. So the main pieces were these large scale soft sculptures in which I hand printed, I machine sewn, stuffed, and they're large scale sculptures that people can interact with, as in like lay down, surround yourself with them, hug them, sit in them, cuddle with them. And that project, it was initiated through COVID. So when COVID hit, I needed something to cope with, something to feel secure in. And I made 2 serpents, one to wrap around my neck and one to wrap around my body or my waist. And it was designed to mimic a hug because I really missed the hugs of my friends and my family. And it healed me so much through COVID, through the pandemic. And I was like, whoa, what would this feel like for other people who don't have access to other people, or maybe they have anxiety, or maybe they have a lot of fear around like germs at the time, right? How could this be something that could be intimate for them and could also be shared collectively with other people? So that's where the serpents were created. And as I created Dito Lang, it became more than just that. I ended up creating like wood sculpture pieces that were on the wall, an affirmation wall with both Tagalog and English affirmations. And we created a soundscape as well. So there were just so many elements to it, all with a focus of just feeling safe, like having this world where you feel comforted, nurtured, safe to just exist. And I feel like that's so integral to my life and my process, to always feel safe and to always find a place where I can unravel like authentically. Because I feel like the only ways I've been able to unravel authentically is when I feel safe with the people around me and I feel safe in the environment that I'm in. Otherwise, it's performative. Otherwise, it's people pleasing, whatever. So yeah, and I kind of told myself, like, I only want to make sacred spaces from here on out. And that also bleeds into my art too. Like, how can I create that with my art and share that?
I will also say, for those that weren't there, it looked as big as a pregnant. I just want people to see like the visual in their head, how big it was. Is almost, well, bigger than a pregnancy pillow.
Yeah, it was like as big as this couch that we're sitting on that people can't see.
But it was like different sizes of serpents.
Yeah, I think I had a total of, 9 to 11 serpents. The largest one being more than 10 feet long.
Yeah.
But
huge.
It's designed to like curve, so you can kind of like shimmy yourself into it and like cuddle into it.
It was so relaxing.
Yeah, it's at Bituin now at the shop.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's cool. It has its own whole nother life that gets to our guests get to experience.
Yes.
We're still gearing up for our grand opening, so I would say like end of summer we'll most likely have our grand opening and be able to share that with the public. And actually, something that is coming up is the Be Free event for Kultivate Labs. So we'll be partnering up with Kultivate Labs to launch our first group show at Bituin to coincide with that time. And it'll be within the themes of the Philippine Independence Day. So yeah, we're going to have that. And yeah, more tattooing opportunities. I'm going to be releasing things on like the new moon. So it'll be kind of fun to play with that. And a couple workshops. We don't have any fully set right now, but like we'll definitely be opening space for the workshops. But yeah, I would say the grand opening and then the Be Free group show opening.
In June.
June 8th is Be
weekend.
Free. Yeah. And we'll have the space open for folks to come through.
Yes.
Yeah. And then hopefully the grand opening sometime around that. But
okay.
We'll see.
And then last question.
Yeah.
What are you geeking over? And it could be anything.
This is so wild. Okay, so now I'm a business owner. I feel like I've been geeking out about systems, like creating systems that work with the ways in which we're creating our business because it's very unconventional. And also geeking about like financial literacy, which is so challenging for me. But I am just geeking out about it because I'm like learning so much and like just having really cool conversations with people around money, where in my family, it was very like hush hush. Okay. And it's just beautiful to like share knowledge in that way. So yeah, just geeking about systems and like financial literacy, which is crazy. I would have never thought.
I would never thought my last answer would be that shit.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah. And I'm always geeking about healing. Always. That's always, like a constant
number
thing.
One.
Like healing is like number one.
Thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And allowing this conversation to be.
Thank you.
Two of the lessons I took away from this conversation. 1, Jenn's perception of energy itself was so insightful, and I think key to how they approach their artwork and Reiki tattoo practice. Instead of categorizing energy as inherently negative or positive, Jenn says it's essential to view it as a neutral force that can manifest differently in various situations. By understanding that energy simply is without judgment, individuals can better comprehend its dynamics and work with it effectively. Another lesson that they touched on is the significance of intention when shaping energy. Our conversation highlighted how individuals have the power to influence the energy around them through their intentions and actions. By consciously choosing an intention, individuals can alter the energy of a space or situation, whether it's uplifting, neutral, or negative. I think this emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and responsibility in managing one's energy and its impact on others. I just love how Jenn explained the use of energy and intention in their work. And looking at intentions behind your energy or actions is key. For example, my core intention driving the launch of this podcast was love. The love of my son and the love of my community. My intention was to spark inspiration within him so that one day he could be empowered to listen to these podcast episodes and take control of his life, regardless of external circumstances, and to initiate his own healing journey. So maybe take this as a gentle nudge to either embark on an intentional path of reconnecting with your inherent strength or to persist in your personal healing endeavors. In my own personal life, I think even after various forms of self-work like therapy and Bible study and church groups, Reiki sessions, artist retreats, I often find myself reflecting on areas in my life that still need healing. And in those moments, I remind myself that this journey is a privilege. It's a chance, it's a get to that I have been afforded that maybe previous generations and my ancestors may not have had. Also, during times of disconnection or stress, conversations like the one I did with Jenn are a great reminder to pause and ask, where can I infuse more love, more gentleness, and more chill into my life? And which areas require greater accountability or, as Jenn mentioned, ownership? Of course, there are moments when everything feels too much, that the disconnection is too great or the stress too heavy. And the only thing that I can do is really seek support from friends, from therapists, my ancestors, and of course, a higher power. I think it's remarkable how help always seems to find its way to me, whether it's through encouraging words from friends, signs affirming my path from ancestors, or serendipitous experiences orchestrated by a higher power. I don't believe in coincidences. And when those moments hit, just like this interview did with Jenn, it's like a little nudge and a beautiful reminder for me that this journey is a continuous cycle of reflection, reconnection, growth, and manifesting our intentions. These reminders help me lean into this healing process with an open mind and heart, knowing deep down we're never truly alone. You can book a Reiki tattoo session with Jenn and find her on Instagram at jenn.ban, JENN.BAN, or Bituin Studio, spelled BITUIN Studio. Cultural Kultivators is hosted by me, Nicole Saliver. You can follow me at Kindred Kapwa or follow the podcast at cultural.cultivators on Instagram. This podcast is co-produced by John Reyes, Kindred Kapwa, and Belai Creative, and is a product of Cultivate Labs. Stay in touch at belaicreative.org.